Alright, evening everyone. Um, Again, I know I keep saying that Thursday I'm going to be have a secondary stream of some sort, but it's just so much easier, like after getting home from work, to just go no camera, just audio and record it, than it is to set up the live stream and set up all the green screen and crap. It's like I may save that for just Sunday streams because it is a lot of setup. I have to pretty much like reconfigure my entire bedroom to set all that crap up. And as far as the camera, it's like we're going to be drawing tonight because I need some pictures and backdrops to go along with the next stream, which is coming up, which is going to be the Black Army era under Gowan II, who is a repeating titular character, and also Revenge of the Forsaken. Um, and we're going to war. For the first time, the Tech Nation is going to invade another country and start killing people. Uh, you have to understand, as previously mentioned in the last live stream on Sunday, uh, from the text perspective, because the Humble crashed and did not land, and the ancestors of the Baylors are responsible for that, then that means their initial agreement to live under tech law while underway is still in effect. Because the agreement was until we land and part ways amicably, you're going to live under tech law. Well, they didn't do that. They decided to wreck the ship instead. So technically, the best kind of correct, the techs are completely justified in ramrodding into your country and killing all your slave owners, unless they willingly give up their slaves. So that's basically what is the main thing that happens in this war. This is not a traditional war where it's about politics or it's about money or power or expansion. This is about stamping out something that came from the home world that was originally stamped out there too. It's like a rhino putting out a brush fire. Uh, it's going to happen. Like you start a brush fire or you start a fire in a savannah, all of a sudden a rhino is going to come up and stamp it out because they know that if it spreads, it'll destroy everything. That's basically how the texts view things like slavery or terrorism, is that if you don't immediately stomp it out and let it fester and grow, it becomes a massive problem for everyone. Of course, to the Nork elite, it's not a problem. Slavery solves a very big labor issue of who does the work and who sits on their ass and gains from it. Well, it's very simple. We just simply have a caste system with slaves at the bottom and the nobility at the top, and on a sliding scale going up, everyone benefits. So it's all very simple, isn't it? Except for that, pesky little thing about, inalienable rights, liberty, justice. Just screw all that. It's like we need to make some money. So again tonight we got one of my favorites, commercial-free content creators, royalty-free content, free royalty-free content creators, copyright-free content creators, White Bat Audio. So special thanks to Karl Casey, I highlighted this time at White Bat Audio. It will also be first and foremost in the description. Let's see what he's got for us tonight. We got Hellbender, that sounds badass. Invasion Los Angeles. Plague Rats, that sounds cool. Full Metal Jacket, fucking A. Flash of the Blade, Meat Grinder, Pentagram, Eliminator, which is this segment is named after. Inferno, Primitive Weaponry. You ever hear the Maori band called Alien Weaponry? They are a metal band, I want to say from New Zealand, that may be wrong, who sing in ancient Maori. Like, it's fucking badass. Most of their songs are about, like, Maori warriors and shit like that. Really cool. Um, World Beyond Death, Malevolent, Walking into a Nightmare, Burn Them All. Oh, oh my. Titan? I'm not sure how to pronounce that when you put an E at the end of it. Descendants, Splatterpunk, Barbarian, Revolt, Out for Blood, License to Kill, Among the Ruins, Back for Revenge. There we go. That definitely comes into very much into factor when it comes to the Black Army era. Now it's important to remember the Black Army era extended past the reign of Galen II. It did partially go into the reign of his son Val. However, he did not use the military for what is essentially cultural policing like his father did. He instead used them a little more like Voss did, if mentioned before, for exploration. You know, the people who live in this local area, they know the land, whereas the techs want to get like a very nice map of the whole supercontinent that they all live on. Let's see. Revolt, Out for Blood, License to Kill. Anyway, let's get the music going. Like. Let's say. Yeah, I rang his bell a long time ago. Ha ha! Sorry. Can't hear myself think. Alright. So let me check my levels there. Alright, I think we're good. I just don't want the music to overpower what I'm saying. Okay, so we need a few backdrops. Now, I made this earlier. Now, this is a map of Octon, and it's a little tiny, like, sort of Australia-sized subcontinent that's connected by a little land bridge from Southwest Technation / Southern Trot Commonwealth. Now, I'm not going to go into detail of like all of these cities and forts and whatnot, but basically this is the battle map we're going to be using tomorrow, and I'm going to explain probably zooming in like that and actually showing like me in the corner here, and then directionalities of armies and what happened and whatnot. But again, I wanted to look like an old-timey map, so I used the sort of burlap color, gray instead of black to make it look older, and just the crayon tool to like make it look textured. But that's not what we're going to be drawing today. Oh look, it did the thing. Great. Alright. I guess we have to erase all this crap. I hate when it does this. Of course, we got it saved over there, so I don't necessarily care. I will be saving this as itself. Okay. So, the first thing I want to draw... Hold on. Ball map. I want to draw this guy right here, which is Fort Europe. Now, it is a large, like, Roman-style earthen fort on top of this plateau, overlooking, as you can see, a strategic entry-exit point for the continent on the land bridge, and they can see both oceans from that plateau. So that is a very great place to dominate if you want to cut off Octon. And that's first thing in text 2, of course, is make it entrench and make a giant underground fort right there. So that's basically what I want to show. I kind of want to do like an offset angle to where you can kind of see. It's not very. Nah, it's not gonna work. Okay. Alright, so first let's do the background. So way in the background is just the sky. So do sort of a pot mark. That's sort of a Bob Ross technique going on here. Just light, wispy clouds. Yeah, it's a nice day on the land bridge. No one's been blown up by trebuchet bombs yet. It's okay. The text will make sure that happens to someone at least once. Green mist is what they call it because their blood is green, not red. And that, yes, their term for that does date back to this era with the trebuchet bombs. Basically, the trebuchet is an excellent projectile weapon. It is man-powered, because it has treadmills cranking it back. Although I should say woman-powered, because most of the artillery corps was made up of women. Because dubiously at this time, women were put to the draft because Gowan II wants to fill those ranks. Now, of course, he wasn't a fucking madman about it. They had to, like, pass the physical standards and whatnot. But here's the thing. There were a lot of women who actually showed up first day to Army recruiting and say, hey, remember me? Yeah, the burly tomboy you said wouldn't make it in this man's army? Well, the king just said that we're allowed in now. So I would like to enlist in the army today. And of course, what are you going to say to that? It's like, yeah, the king did just say publicly, we're admitting women now. Fucking deal with it. Ooh, that is nowhere near big enough. I don't like that at all. See, any other time I'm trying to bullshit a landscape, it just looks beautiful. But because I'm recording it and I want it to look nice, all of a sudden it looks like shit. But of course, you get the idea. I just want, you know, rolling hills, a little bit of a plateau up here, and just like sort of a long distance shot of Fort Europe. So there's something visual so you can understand what I'm talking about. Because the way I described it in the book was like if you had buried a porcupine and its quills were sticking up. And I think a lot of people got a very bad interpretation of what I was trying to go for. Alright. Rolling hills. And then, of course, far out there, you're going to have the ocean. There we go. That way. Yeah, we're getting it. We're getting it now. We're feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. Oh, got a little bit of over color there. I am using, of course, big thickness, no opacity whatsoever. Opacity. You guys can fight on the correct pronunciation on that. difference between pecan and pecan, I guess. Someone's of the opinion the other one's wrong at all times. Alright, now, here's a little trick for drawing mud and dirt. Old dirt is darker than new dirt. So, when you look at new dirt, like freshly ground up, it's going to be wet. No, actually reverse that. New dirt is going to be a little bit darker because it has a higher water content. So, oh hell, let's just go with it. Send it. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm liking this. Yeah. Now I am mainly referring to what I'm drawing, but yeah, that last song was pretty fucking lit as well. So I'm telling you, man, dark synthwave is going to grow on you like a fungus. It did with me. At first, I'm like, oh, it sounds like a John Carpenter movie, and then I started listening to John Carpenter albums, and then I started listening to newer artists like Dancing with the Dead, and then I found White Bat audio, and I'm like, okay, I like dark synthwave. Now we're going to zoom in. Now, the text eventually would fortify Europe with more battlements, more artillery pieces. It's generally making it so the Norks can't pull that cheeky shit they did that one night of killing a bunch of sentries on one side and sneaking in. Sort of give it a sort of rounded point. Now, if not for the various wooden spikes they put around it, cavalry on Enax could just easily ride up on this. It's just a dirt bank, essentially. But you see, the techs were smart in that they put overlapping fields of fire of auto bows, which is basically like a full auto crossbow. Ah, well, fuck it, we'll go with it. Now, one of the things the techs developed after the night raid on Europe isn't really talked about a lot are magnesium flares. They knew that certain metals will burn fiercely. They just couldn't remember which ones. Until this Troc chemist came into town and said, hey, I heard you techs like to buy things that burn really fast and explode. And the techs are like, well, yes, we do. So I have this refined metal here that burns as bright as the sun. And the techs are like, yeah, whatever. He's like, no, really, put these goggles on. They handed the guy he was about to demonstrate it to a pair of dark lens goggles. And he's like, you do not want to look directly at this. Takes out a little strip of magnesium, burns it. Which, if you've ever done that in a room full of people, you'll quickly realize that is an absolute showstopper. It is brighter than a welding arc, and even with your eyes closed, if you're looking at it, you can still see it. Don't ask me how I know that. Alright, so we're going to darken this up a bit. Yeah. Oh, no, too dark. Yeah, there we go. Gives it a nice muddy feel. Now, we're going to go back. And because I want them to be very sharp looking, all these little punchy spikes around it. The size of this fort is probably about 300 meters square, so it's a little smaller than a football field. It could station about 5,000 troops and their ENACs comfortably. And of course, with all of these spikes coming out of it, you know, just riding up over the rampart on your ENAC, it's not going to happen. They're going to get their feet stabbed by the little ones and probably stabbed in the chest by the bigger ones. Up angle. And of course, perspective changing as you go further away, you want it to look smaller so that it looks like they are still proportionally the same size. They're just further away. Definitely want them to stick out so people understand, oh, those are spikes coming out of there. Now, the mountain behind them is very sheer. They weren't particularly worried about anyone getting up there and fucking with them because they still had the artillery reach to even hit the top of the mountain if they needed to. But beyond that, it's just a pretty much impassable chain of mountains, so they weren't terribly worried about that. However, if someone, yes, were to, like, say, put a small cannon up there, they would have absolute authority over this little plateau. And that was a consideration, but basically they were like of the opinion, just like, yeah, but we're still outgunned them, so now there are two entrances and exits to Fort Europe, and they are both semi-flat underground. I'm about to draw them here, but I just need to. I just want to continue doing the hedgerow of spikes. Again, further away, smaller than need to be. Now, these spikes were gathered from the valley behind. And what the techs found out is that in the tall grass, some of the more mature grass would just grow really thick and sort of bush out. And it's made sort of a bamboo-like stalk that's very strong and can be carved away into a point, like a piece of wood. That's where all of these guys came from. And they top out at around, say, 5 feet. But that's more than enough to, say, put 3 feet up and past the wall, for angled outward, so that if anyone tries to rod up this wall, they're going to have a very bad time. Alright. So, extend down, with the dirt. And there's going to be a very heavy door here that's almost laying down, almost like a root cellar. And the reason they did this is so that you couldn't batter ram it. If you tried to battering ram this, it would just go off. It would literally slip off. And this door is iron reinforced, just like a castle door would be. It's very, very heavy. And just like a gangplank over, or a drawbridge over a moat, it has a series of towers and pulleys up here to pull it up. Now, if the enemy snaps these chains, well, you could still have an army of dudes push from the inside and pull it up, because you're just pulling up the way of the door. So unless the enemy is literally sitting on it, you could still escape, but they can't get in. Not without going over these ramparts. There's ramparts here. Alright. That's new wood, so it's going to be very fresh looking. Block and tackle there on the other side. Again, I'm not trying to go for like a get good vibe here. It's just I want a very sharp image so that you can see what's going on there. And of course, that goes to 2 synchronized hand cranks on the other side. And the hinge is just regular old gravity hinge. It's nothing really special about it. It's just a big old heavy door. If this door were upright, it would probably be double the height of the ramparts. So upwards around probably 20 feet, 25 feet. And it said the techs built this inside of a month. And they basically marched upwards of 5,000 foot soldiers and about 1,000 rangers to keep watch along the range. The people of the land bridge were absolutely mesmerized. They would come out, like, their kids would watch. They tried communicating again with people of land bridge, but every time you get close to them, they just run away. And, which, quite honestly, is a sensible thing to do when you see techs coming towards you. Just fucking run. It's like, it isn't that the techs are evil, it's just eventually they're going to find a reason not to like you, and then it's going to be awkward. It's kind of what happened with the Trots, essentially. The Trots technically didn't do anything wrong. It's just the tech showed up, they didn't like what they saw, they didn't like the explanation for what they saw, so... Alright, so, as you can see, it's basically like any other castle door, it's just horizontal almost rather than vertical. And then you got a little walkway up here. Now in the book, when it says that King Krent shouted up to the battlements to a soldier smoking a pipe, and there's like a Monty Python-esque moment there, where he says, "I am the King of Octon. I command you to let me in." And the soldier smoking the pipe on the battlement said no, and there was giggling heard from the other side. That was Galen II. Like, he was just randomly smoking a pipe, looking out when these dudes rolled up. Time for some trebuchet action. Alright, so I was talking about how the trebuchet is an excellent projectile weapon. I have seen the damn thing hurl cars. Like, it does not give a rat's ass what you put in it. It's going to fling it a very long way away. And this is one that's sort of cocked and ready to go. They would often keep it in the cocked position, just in case. A lot of medieval battlefield manuals will tell you not to do that because of safety issues, but the texts are like, nah, we'd rather be able to return fire instantly. Always remember your perspective. Those chains go over the spikes. Now, if you tried to trample on this door, there are steel spikes on the iron parts. You can't really see them because it's so far away. Try to give an idea of them. So it isn't like you're just going to be able to just walk up this, this inclined door provided for you and go straight to the battlements. No, there are nails driven through the wood and iron spikes coming out of the ironwork, reinforcing it too. It's like you're not going to have a fun time walking on this. And that's more to keep Enochs out rather than people. A person, of course, could sneak around that. So that's the front entrance. I think I'll just go around. Each cardinal corner has a big trebuchet. And this one, just for cinematic purposes, I think I'm going to leave it like up and erect, so you understand what you're looking at. And the trebuchets had 4 evenly spaced wheels for positioning in the beginning. Later in the war, they put them on a sort of pivoting big lazy Susan because the women who were tasked with manning them, quote unquote, didn't have the physical strength to turn them around like that. Because again, that was designed for men, not for women. So they had to change their design. And these trebuchets were massive, upwards of 200 feet tall. They were made from Hessian trees, which, as you've seen before, are quite large. And unlike our redwoods, Hessian redwoods are very, very much a hardwood. This little sling basket there. Now, What made the Tech's trebuchet so deadly wasn't the trebuchet itself. The trebuchet itself is just a weight-driven catapult that uses a sling at the very tip to augment its throwing speed. So what the hell made these things so deadly? Well, it is the fact that they would hurl little iron cherry bombs about the size of a basketball. And those were filled with lead grape shot. The Techs do not fuck around. Trebuchet bombs could take out a formation of 50 men easily between their grape shot and shrapnel. The amount of powder in each one was the equivalent of about 6 kilograms of blasting powder or black powder. So yeah, do the math. That's it would be like having a claymore go off facing a formation of like 50 dudes. Like it's going to obliterate them. No problem. Now this is very important. Tech trebuchets had lead plates as their counterweight. They did not use river rocks or big rocks. And those lead plates would be carried with the entire unit. Also, it has a big swivel here, so that as the arm sort of goes back, this rises up, but the swivel keeps it facing the ground. Because they determined that if they didn't have that swivel there, that when it goes to reset itself, it would just sort of back and forth until it's settled, and that takes too much time. Don't have time for that shit. Some trebuchets would even have ropes back here to catch the basket, as it were. Because trebuchet literally means tree bucket. Now, on the back side here is the part I really, really want to emphasize. Back here is a little treadmill. Get it closer. Going pixel by pixel, guys. Very much reminding me of Get Good, even though I said we're not going to do that style of art. And basically, if you are the most useless member of a trebuchet crew, and especially if you're a smaller woman, they're going to put your ass in the treadmill. That treadmill works a gearbox that slowly cranks this bad boy like that. And you are expected at a running pace to recock this trebuchet arm in under 20 seconds. Now, that sounds reasonable, but when you realize the gear ratio you're dealing with, that each rotation only moves the arm down about a foot, and you have an arc probably of around 50 feet. Yeah, so you better be booking it. Every day for you is leg day. Now, if you ever wondered, would they put enemy soldiers in there like POWs as punishment? The answer is Techs do not take prisoners. That is your blanket answer. Because back in the day, under King Technos, he decreed that he would no longer be taking POWs because they traditionally were made slaves and forced to do stupid shit like that as punishment. So from now on, because we are no longer engaging in slavery, that also means we are not going to be engaging in taking of POWs. So that means when you fight us, be prepared to fight to the death. Of course, his neighboring ancient kingdoms were like, oh my god, dude, what is your problem? And his problem was that he was nearly poisoned by said ex-POW, now slave, kitchen workers. Pardon me. And because of that, he decreed that slaves cannot be trusted. Now, if you're wondering like why the rest of these would be cocked back and that one's not, more than likely it's being repaired. Because you need to relax it in order to repair it. You can't have it be like cocked back and ready to fire. But also, like I said, just for the scene, I need you to understand what you're looking at when they're cocked back like that. Is that you don't understand how large they are. It's like, just for reference, this wheel right here is 6 feet in diameter. So do the math. Like, this is like a 25-foot tall structure. Like, very impressive to see it in person. But even more impressive to see it hurl things. Some of that bleed through green back here. I guess there could be a little bit of strip of grass left over from the digging process, but it just looks like bleed through to me, so it's going to do it. Alright. Again, in this way you get the backside of it, so you understand, again, what you're looking at. Now, if you're wondering how they would sort of like curve a shot if they needed to, there are multiple little teeth up here that the ring of the little basket goes into, and if you put the ring opposite to where the center portion is anchored here, to say one side or the other, and then put the shot basket to one side, favoring that same side, what will happen is sort of like a curveball. It will impart a spin that will curve the shot as it goes downrange. But of course, that is very inaccurate, and you should not do that, especially if you have mixed forces on the battlefield. So that's basically a trick shot for showing off, not really a battlefield application. Now, they are all on these big platforms here, these big like 12 by 12 platform like type of wood, and again, little tiny wheels. Now, the techs had larger trebuchets than this. It's just that they were so damn big that it took forever to take them anywhere. So for the most part, they pretty much stayed where they were, and those are usually an outpost like overlooking the entryways to, like, say, Ulysses. Like that's the national defense trebuchet, basically. That's the, oh shit, we're too close to Ulysses trebuchet. again, the lead weights here. The lead weights rotate, like I said, so it stays a little almost perfectly in line with the ground, because like I said, they found out that otherwise it will pitter back and forth forever, and it will kill your ability to get a rate of fire of any decent amount. There is the treadmill. Now, real medieval trebuchets had 2 of these, but because they did not have a reduction gear on them, I would say that the tech version is able to cock this no problem. It will just take longer. Again, little tiny wheels. Now the little wheels got to be a problem in dirt like this, but again, once you set these in place, it doesn't really matter. Like it's gonna be there a long time. One of the biggest problems with the trebuchets was getting a uniform pattern, shot pattern. They would kind of just do their own thing for the most part. And some of them were, for no seeming apparently any type of reason or rhyme, just very inaccurate. And they never could get them to, like, give a straight shot. So those usually were broken down and used for spare parts for other ones. There were trebuchets that people said were straight up cursed. They just never acted right. And there was a rumor going around that Trock wood, like, wood from the, that was bought by the Triarchy from Trocks to make war weapons, are inherently cursed because the Trocks don't like to go to war. And if you know the secret backstory of, especially with Baron Zargon, who provided a lot of that wood, you'll know that that's absolutely not true. He was actually very gung-ho for war because his children aren't going to go fight it, the Techs are, and he's going to make a lot of money selling them lumber. In fact, he gave them a discount because he knew over time the volume that they would need, he's still going to make a shit ton of money. And he did, and his descendants to this day, Navy SEAL team captain and Get Good on 8th Fleet, and also features an 8th Fleet, also named codename Baron because his family are still lumber barons, multi-generational, because they made that Faustian deal with the Techs to supply them more lumber and at a discount even. And so when everyone else was being a social capitalist to be like, no, we're not going to fund the Tech war machine, we're not going to help that, he's like, oh yeah, baby, you need lumber? Like, we got that. Because again, it's no skin off his ass. He's not going to fight that, and he hates the Norks. So, double whammy. It's like he doesn't like the Norks, and the Techs are the ones that are going to be fighting and dying, not him. So, it's win-win. But you can see how tedious this is. It's always so tedious to draw little detailed drawings like this. But for the world building and for the audience, pardon me, like it's almost essential so that they can see what you're talking about. But yeah, there was a prevailing belief that the handful of crappy trebuchets that came out, that somehow, some way, it could be traced back to like a Trot curse on the wood. Like maybe even Weta herself cursed the wood so it wouldn't shoot straight, thus sparing lives. Which doesn't make any sense, because if it doesn't shoot straight, they're going to overtake your position and you're all going to die anyway. So I guess whose lives are we saving? The enemies or ours? That's the thing about curses. Is at the end of the day, it really makes no damn sense. Like, if you want something bad to happen to these people, like, set a booby trap. Like, seriously? But instead, you got, like, almost like a metaphysical booby trap with curses. It's like, if you disturb my shit, you're gonna get cursed. They're like, dude, you're dead. Like, what? You can't... It's like, God gonna curse me on your behalf? Like, why would he care that I steal your shit, like, thousands of years after you're dead? It's like, it doesn't... yeah, I mean, it's just... If anything, to me, like, instead of a curse, a general appeal to decency would be more effective. It's like, imagine 1,000 years from now, someone comes into your grave and just steals your shit. You know, your father's gold pocket watch you were buried with. You know, digs out your gold teeth, golden fillings from your teeth. It's like, you wouldn't like that, would you? It's like, no. So why are you doing it to me? But then again, curses and appeals to decency only work on certain types of people. And if they're not that type of person, it's just falling on deaf ears. Alright, you know what? Speed up this process. I'm going to do something quick and dirty. You guys are not going to like it. I'm sorry. But you see, now I can just clean up the edges and it will look like it belongs there. This one, unfortunately, because of the angle, I'm going to have to draw. But this one can mirror this one. And we'll just say there are 2 trebuchets down. How about that? Like I said, yeah, I have to use this on occasion. Reuse panels, reuse assets. Because to me, it's more about getting the point across than looking good. been a very good selection of songs tonight. Almost reminiscent of like Nine Inch Nails. Like if you took the vocals away from Nine Inch Nails. Not that I would ever do that to Trent, but you hear, no, you know what I'm saying. It's got sort of a Nine Inch Nails vibe to it. I like it. Like I said, all of White Bat Audio stuff is pretty much like this. Very nice. And like I said, it will grow on you like a fungus. Just give it time. You're going to be listening to Dancing with the Dead. You're going to be going through the John Carpenter fucking discography, just like I did. Shit. But yeah, the nostalgia I feel when doing, especially pixel by pixel like this, like I said, just sitting there with mom's work computer, there's nothing on a 90s work computer to do other than MS Paint. So I would end up drawing like really elaborate pictures that are really, really good. And she would save a lot of them on floppy disk. That's how long ago it was. And take them home for Daddy to see. We thought we were the family of the future, like fucking Jetsons. So our kid doesn't draw on paper, he draws on computer. All the other parents are like, oh, yeah. When's the last time you punched a random kid in the face? It's like, shut the hell up. So I guarantee you if Mama tried to flex like that, that they would come back with my behavioral issues at the time as a counter. It's like, yeah, but he punched little Bobby in the face and just really kicked the shit out of him. Alright, so we gotta establish the corner here. There. Does that feel right? Yeah, it feels right. We'll just fix this later on. Or actually, no, that's going to be where the second entryway is. So it's got a through-and-through entry. Supplies and reinforcements come in the rear. And then when they go out to march, they go out in front. But both of them are this, like, root cellar style, drawbridge style, like, almost horizontal door. And again, that's to prevent battering rams. Now, if you had like an old school shaped charge, which were called petards, basically they were an iron bell full of gunpowder that you would nail to the door and light and then run away. But sometimes the fuse would burn fast and you would get hoisted by your own petard. That's what that means. That's where that term comes from. Basically, like Looney Tunes, you set off a bomb with a fuse, but you didn't run away fast enough, and the shrapnel got you. And yes, you did Wilhelm scream when you died. That happened. It's looking good. Let me make this more of a hard edge. I don't know, it kind of looks more like mist is coming down from like the moors or something. But we'll clean this up later in the valley. Maybe have like over here like some people of the land bridge like just sort of looking at it. Like I said, for the most part, the people who live on the land bridge, they kind of look like a cross between Trox and Norks. They had brown spots on sort of like dark golden feathers. Skin tone could be anywhere from pinkish like a Caucasian to almost black. Like it just depended. It just depended on genetics, but for the most part, most of them were kind of tan because it's closer to the equator, as we saw from the equator on this planet would probably be right about here somewhere. Let's see. Oh, and when not firing, the shot basket is to be kept away in a little box. That's so it doesn't get lost, and also it doesn't get dirty or, cut, burned. Because if that shot basket doesn't work properly and is damaged, the whole trebuchet becomes useless. Because it can't hurl something without that little sling shot basket. Alright, I think I'm going to draw one more with closer to that kind of perspective right here. And then copy and paste the rest. Like I said, it's going to be here all damn night doing this. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this. It is literally going to be an overlay I probably use for like just 30 minutes of the storytelling. Now, I don't think real trebuchets ever shot explosive ordnance. I think they were always used for busting down barricades and castle walls. And I don't think that they were common in the era when gunpowder was coming forth as a predominant weapon system. Which is really sad, because I would have liked to have seen how devastating a textile trebuchet would actually have been. Like I say, I'm pretty sure it would be an absolute widowmaker. Especially if you could lay down a good volume of incoming fire. Let's say you had 20 trebuchets, each one capable of firing, say, twice a minute. That would be rather goddamn impressive. Like I said, I think that would be an absolute war winner. But you can see, like, from the elevation of the plateau, it's like they could probably hurl projectiles, like, way out past this point. Like, so they dominated this little area right here, which is why the king of Octon, who's technically, this isn't his territory, rode out just to basically, like, get an explanation of what the hell are y'all doing? It's like, I don't technically own the land bridge, but it's like, you were way too close to my territory with that shit. And of course, he remembers the last group of techs that came around were kind of dickbags. So they're like, ugh, these guys again. Of course, he didn't realize that they were here pretty much for him. Like, their goal was to capture him. And not hold him for ransom, but literally put him on show trial back in Ulysses for the crime of slavery. Your entire nation runs on slavery, dude. So it's not cool. You don't like it. To which he probably would take the very based defense of not your nation, not your problem. Of course, the text would not have liked that answer either. Alright. So, like I said, the original plan was to capture the king and to bring him back and have a big old show trial where he would be essentially found guilty before he even stands trial. It's like, if you're accused of slavery and your country is rampant with slavery, like there's no defense of that. They were hoping he would have like a come to Jesus moment where like he would, it's like, you know what, you guys are absolutely right. It's like, we should have never engaged in this. I am so sorry. We're never going to do it again. And then, by the mercy of the Triarchy, they'd probably spare him to return to Octon, where he probably would immediately betray them and be like, fuck those guys. Start fortifying. Because let's face it, you are dealing with the height of Baylordom with the Norks. Like, they don't even recognize the humble is a real thing at this point in history. They are humble deniers. It's like, we did not come here on a starship that our ancestors crashed. You guys are crazy and racist, and you really, really need to fuck off. And the texts are like, no, I don't, no, we're not going to be doing that. Now, you ask the average person in Ulysses what they think about the Norks at this time. They only know that they exist and that they have yellow feathers, and that some of them are kind of tall. They don't really know dick all about them. All they know is what the Triarchy has told them, is that they live in degeneracy, which they never get too specific about that. What they mean by that with degeneracy is they are not egalitarian. They have a caste system. They believe certain people are superior to others, and that is somehow genetically inherited. So your child will be superior to the child of someone of a lower caste forever because they are just simply born superior. Think of it as like a weird type of economic eugenics. Now, amongst the slaves of Octon, they have a more robust sort of secret culture. Sort of like African slaves that, you know, would practice like voodoo or hoodoo. There were Panjian occultists who were slaves, who believed in magic, they believed in the metaphysical, they believed in the old gods. So, I'm going to talk briefly about what is widely considered to be Nork propaganda from this time, because it was published immediately after the war, and it actually competed for sales with the original edition of The Revenge of the Forsaken, which paints Gawain II in a much more, I hate the term, but he's not human, but humanitarian light. That he's just a good man who did bad things. That he wasn't tyrannical or crazy or any of that shit. He's just damned if you do, damned if you don't, so I chose the least harmful of the two options. As any sane person in my position would. Which is true. But it was entirely him and his dad's idea to invade Octon and instill basically tech culture on them. It was predominantly his idea to allow women and homosexuals into the military. I want to talk about why I use that specific term homosexual. It's because back then they had the blanket insult of pervert, and you hear Cubic the Blasphemer refer to Cockrell and Veto as perverts. They also refer to Lord Highcoast as a pervert. Now, if you've been picking up on what I've put down, you'll know that Cockrell and Veto are a gay couple. You'll also notice they are not flaming or candy asses, as they would say at that time. Panjian homosexuals tend to be very hyper-masculine. And there is no, like, effeminate, say, twink and, like, bear daddy combo. Like, they're all very mannish, because that's what they're attracted to, so that's what they exude. But, of course, that sends out big signals to women who are attracted to that, straight women, I should say. And so you get hiccups like Princess Mayrie, who really likes Veto. And Veto really, even if he were straight, really doesn't want to fall into that trap, because he knows what happens to her baby daddies. They go bye-bye. He doesn't, like, disappear or have them killed. It's just they are completely, like, wrote out of the child's life. And Lord Hykos is an enjoyer of both teams. Basically, he plays for both teams. He's bi. In an age where the blanket term pervert also falls into the category of, say, like, pedophiles, child molesters, just general sexual deviants, cross-dressers. It all gets very muddled, and it's very hard to tell from ancient texts what the texts were actually referring to in deviancy. However, Gawain II had pointed out multiple instances of what he referred to as Nork degeneracy. And it all was more or less based on egalitarianism, not necessarily, bedroom habits. Because really and truly, both sides of the aisle are kind of guilty of that if you're looking at it from, like, a hardcore, like, moralistic or religious standpoint. Which you also have to remember, the texts are very modest people. They're very austere. They're not going to go around flaunting their sexuality. And that's really the core of it. It isn't that Cockrell and Veto are afraid of being known as gay. Cora pretty much outed them in her fucking novel. Said it all without saying it. It's that they don't want to be associated with the other aspects of that slur. Mainly the pedophiles. Like, they don't want to be associated with that. And beyond that, they really would prefer the public not to have any knowledge or insight into their bedroom activities, because that's none of their fucking business. And to this day, that is how most texts feel about it, is that it's you could be gay all you want in your own home, essentially. But outside, we have standards. And those standards are unilateral, regardless of your orientation. And no, we are not oppressing you by telling you to wear the black and to fucking act like everyone else. That's not oppression. That's called societal conformity. It's part of the agreements and the compromise of living in a society. Now, in modern times, as you've seen with characters in Get Good like Twillick, the Norks have completely swan dove into basically modern gay politics. They have intertwined it with their modern neo-Nazism in a weird sort of hodgepodge of ideologies. But basically, their ideology boils down to we are militant Baylors who are nationalists. Therefore, we hate texts. Texts oppress you by making you wear, austere clothing, when in reality you want to wear a rainbow of colors because you're gay. When in reality that's always been an earthen concept. That's something they got from Earth, unfortunately. Just like they got the mind virus of Nazism from Earth. This is all exo-contamination, which is something that the modern Drawfee despise and fear from the Panjians, is that if we let people interact with the Panjians too much, they'll be tainted, and they will literally purge colonies that interact too much with Panjian neighbors. That's kind of what's happening on Quasaria, is that half the planet is Drawfee colony, and the other half is mixture of Nork and Trock. And the two got to talking to each other, and they realized, hey, if we run over to the Trock side, we're instantly free. We're no longer indentured servants. They will accept us as we are. They will let us defect, and all of a sudden we can start back with no debt and work our way up again in a fair system for once. And of course, the Drawfee Imperium is like, no fucking way are you doing that, chattel. So there was a big old smelly war about that. And it got so bad that they deployed the early supers, namely Doc and Frina Eos. And that's when it got really, really fucked up. But that's a story for another time, because we need to talk about Europe. Europe, to this day, unfortunately, has been lost to a massive cataclysm. See, all these mountains back here, they're not really mountains, they're volcanoes. They're just very dormant. Well, a couple of hundred years ago, they got active again. And because of that, switch back over here, this land bridge broke up into 3 islands with a string of sort of archipelagos connecting them, with shallow reefs connecting those. So theoretically you can still get to Octon from the land bridge, quote unquote, because the Commonwealth and the House of Lords got together and commissioned a long bridge that spans all of these islands. So you can still get there by car, but just about the time they went ahead and did that, cars became obsolete because they invented flying cars. So that bridge is now kind of defunct. Europe itself is now a large island, sort of like Hawaii, like Maui. And a lot of it is actually independently owned. It was purchased from the Commonwealth by a Drawfee expat who grows marijuana there. It's basically a cannabis farm. And it's good high quality stuff. It's just the shipping from there is a little exorbitant. But it's sought after because it's very, very organic. It's not a commercial farm. It's very old school. The modern Nazi party of Octon fucking hates this guy. The fact that there's a Xeno scum, running a historical piece of the land bridge, and furthermore planting drugs all over it. It's like, so they will routinely have their Air Force come around and like fuck with his crops, shoot up his barns, his equipment, just generally just be a fucking terrorist. Because he's Drawfee, and they don't like that. Bear in mind, if this dude were Trock, they'd probably do the same fucking thing, because they don't like Trocks either. They're fucking Nazis. They hate everyone but themselves. But they especially hate themselves. Alright. So today, unfortunately, this entire earthen fort, which should be a historical monument, is halfway underwater. And you can still dive there, and there have been people who brought back interesting things like swords, daggers, pieces of trebuchet parts. But for the most part, it is just a sunken square, underwater anomaly. And that if you were diving down there to this day, it looks so similar to everything else that you would probably not realize you're looking at an old tech fort. Alright, so we need to... Yeah, this guy. Now, one of the interesting things about writing an alien species is especially with the similar but different outlook like I use, are things like being gay. Like, are there gay aliens? What are they like? Well, I kind of explore that with Cockrell and Veto. Again, they are similar but different. They're similar in that they're attracted to other men, but they are not effeminate in any way, shape, or form. Neither one of them. Now, I have gotten feedback from some gay friends saying that could be seen as offensive, that you're erasing gaydom from your universe. Like, no, I'm not. They are gay, by the very definition. They are not politically gay. And that's a major distinction that I think a lot of people need to take a good hard look at. It has become a political movement. It's not about fighting oppression anymore. It has become almost like a Marxist power struggle. And I don't want to say, the gay communist trope, but if the shoe fits, wear it, basically. Like, I'm very, very tired of people who are obviously devoutly communist, and I do use the term devout because it is a fucking religion, claiming, oh no, I'm not like that at all. It's like, you're obviously misinterpreting. Like, no, you seem to be very much a communist. And that's okay. It is okay to be a communist. It is not okay to act on those beliefs, because we know what happens when communists act on those beliefs. Lots of people die. Just like when Nazis and fascists act on their beliefs. Lots of people die. This is a historical fact. You cannot argue with it. You can bitch and moan about it all you want. But just like eating your vegetables when you were a fucking kid, you're going to be eating that broccoli, son. It's going to happen. And I think that's basically what it just boils down to. We have an entire generation of people who just don't want to fucking deal with reality. And if you try to force them to deal with reality, they get very upset about it. But that, I've also, again, that's kind of why I have Nazis in my book series. Just like I have gay aliens. Like, how would they be different? What makes them unique? Because if they're just going to be exactly the same, well, that's not interesting storytelling, is it? That's not interesting world building. That's kind of lame. It's like, oh yeah, on Alpha Centauri, they have pride parades every June, just like on Earth. Like, really? That's odd. Did they get that notion from us? Like, nope, totally independent. Like, that sounds very far-fetched, but okay. How does that look? Oh, that looks great. We're just going to assume that trebuchet's down for repairs, too. Yeah, we gotta do the other side. So that way, because it's mirrored, people can see what the back side of this looks like. It has like a little walkway and ladders and whatnot. I'm also gonna go back and do some wall ramparts for people to stand on, so they can patrol the top side, like a battlement of a castle. But I wanted to see, and Star Trek did this kinda well with the Nazi Planet episode, which a lot of people thought was really, really bad schlock. But I thought it was an interesting concept of how would aliens... another good one is exploring this concept, before I say it, is the animated movie Wizards. and it's a fantasy animation film about exactly what I'm about to say. How would different societies and cultures and civilizations react to ideas of like hardcore Nazism? And would they integrate it into pre-existing things and just keep it marching forward with just a new face mask? And like I said, if you've never seen the animated movie Wizards, it's kind of a fucking psychedelic show. It's very, very colorful, but it's about an evil wizard who uses Nazi propaganda he found in a cave somewhere. It's presuming this is like a future alt-Earth, but with fantasy races. And he uses these propaganda techniques for the Nazis to take over the world by sort of like mind enthralling everyone with the propaganda. And I thought that was a very interesting concept. What would like a Tolkien-esque world, how would they respond to like hardcore Nazi propaganda style brainwashing? And the answer is you're going to have goblins running around wearing Spitzer helmets with fucking swastikas on them, which is a thing that happens in the movie. But again, watch it. It's called Wizards. It has a weird like dude in a suit with a weird space gun riding like a featherless emu type of thing. If you see that artwork, that is the one I'm talking about. It's a very weird animated 70s film. 70s were a weird time for animation, but I love the fuck out of it because they went there. Like Secret of Nim, Watership Down, like they were hardcore films that should not be shown to children. Another shout out, sorry I have to say it, on the opposite side of the aisle with communism, the Borg are the greatest metaphor for communism in sci-fi. The menace of them, the seemingly, oh my god, they're every fucking where realization, especially in Voyager, where they realize they have to go through the heart of Borg country to get home. It's like, what a great fucking analogy. And then the revelation that they're really a monarchy, like a beehive. There is someone ultimately conscious and in charge, guiding everyone's thoughts. You know, much like a Politburo or a dictator that always seem to spring up in late stage communism after all the original Bolsheviks have been killed. Alright. Let's give these a little more fill in. I don't like how much green is back here. Especially if we're about to put battlements in. But like I said, I was accused of, from a work friend who is gay, of basically your version of gayness is erasing gayness. And I'm like, but it is homosexuality. It's just reinterpreted through another species lens, another culture's lens. And basically showing tech egalitarianism, they don't care that Cockrell and Vetter are gay. Now, Princess Mayreed is, because she's a horn dog, is a little upset about it, but she accepts it and moves on, like a fucking adult. But I don't like mentioning that Cockrell and Vetter are gay, because if I don't mention it, it's not talked about. No one talks about Cockrell and Vetter being gay. They talk about the fact they hunt people down and chop their heads off. That's the thing you talk about with Cockrell and Vetter. It's like, what is the deal with these guys? Are they psychopaths? No, they're actually loving and caring fathers toward Cora. And like, so are they just heavily indoctrinated? Kinda. But what's Veto's deal? He just showed up one day with an outlaw and said, here you go. And then, like, took it from there? Like, was it, like, slow brainwashing and indoctrination on the tech's part? It's like, what is their deal? It's like, yeah, that is where the conversation normally heads with them. Haha, pun intended. But it's because their occupation is so flabbergasting to us. Like we can wrap our heads around an assassin like John Wick. Like, you send a dude out there, you send Baba Yaga out there, he kills you, that's the end of it. He gets paid in gold coin that he buries in his basement. But with the Ranger Enforcers, the system and bureaucracy you see with them, how mundane and ordinary they are. Like, the first time you see that there's a magistrate's office that you take a severed head to, she looks at the damn things and looks at the picture and is like, yeah, that's him, and then pays you. It's like, there is a whole system of finding people and beheading them and bringing them back for identification and proof of death that is just baked into this civilization. And yeah, it is so fucking hardcore, we can't really fathom it. Now, in case you're wondering, recently Ranger Enforcers have been ordered by their current magistrate, Volo Okami, who is a direct descendant of the Okamis you see in Revenge of the Forsaken. He obliges them, in other words, he did not order them, but obliges them to take them in alive. And will pay them double for doing so. However, a lot of old school Ranger Enforcers, like his brother, Vitmo Okami, is like, no, I'm going to behead him with the family sickle. That's going to happen. It's like, I don't care if you pay me less. It's not about money, it's about sending a message. And that message, as in back in this day, is if you run afoul of the Tech Nation, you get made an example of in the harshest way possible. Do not fuck with the Techs. As the Trox keep saying over and over again, but no one seems to listen. Like, my god, the one and only time the Trox ever retaliated in any type of force was the Harvest Day Massacre, which is on the tech side is called the Harvest Day Incursion, where about 100 pissed off Trox after Harvest Festival, which is like their Oktoberfest, just rode in the middle of the night into Ulysses to basically avenge everyone murdered in Tetric. And they were never seen again. Their Enacs were disappeared. They found bits and pieces of them here and there. Feet, hands, severed heads, just sort of strewn in like garbage cans, dumpsters. They weren't like left in the middle of the street to rot or anything. They literally like chopped them up and like threw them away, like refuse. But here's the disturbing part. No one called the civil enforcers. No one called the army. This was civilian techs who did this. They saw a bunch of Trox coming into town with murder in their eye and a belly full of fucking booze. And they're like, yeah, you're not going home tonight, buddy. You're not going home tonight. More than likely, they were just sniped from windows by homeowners. And then probably gathered in a pile, and probably the neighborhood's like elders are like, okay, we can't just leave a pile of rotting corpses in the street. So they probably took it to a butcher of ill repute and had him just chop them up, and then they would each, very much like the house party where the Krieger chops up the body and gives each person a Kroger bag to get rid of. So it's probably a similar process to that. Now, here's the fucked up thing. They didn't have to do that. Like, these guys are foreign invaders. Like, yeah, they're the Trox, but still, they're armed, they're drunk, they're pissed off, they're hurting people, or at least threatening to. You could have just left them where they lay and just let the fucking cops sort it out the next day. Like, almost no one is probably going to get any type of, like, manslaughter charge for that. Because they're foreign invaders who are armed. But that's how fucking sinister the techs are. It's like, no, we're not going to call the cops. Who said anything about calling fucking cops? It's like, no. It's like, we're going to wave our magic wand and make you fucking disappear. And that actually, the fact that they never found a whole body of these guys terrifies the Trox to this day. Like, because it's one thing if there was like a big pile of bodies, like in a random street on the edge of town. It's like, okay, you killed them, that's the end of it. You know, let's just call it a draw. But the fact that they just went into the city and not a single whole corpse was ever found, not even of their fucking Enacs, is terrifying. Because what the hell did they do to them? And also the fact that there was no cops called, no military informed. It's like, holy shit. It's one of my favorite little tales, because I came up with that with one of the first readers of PGH said, "Hey, do the Trox?" They're sort of asking ahead, but do the Trox ever retaliate for the Tetrick massacre? You know, they get, you know, tit for tat, Chicago style. And I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, that does sound like something they would do. And my first reaction is they probably die horribly. And the dude laughed his ass off, and he's like, "Oh, really?" So then I sort of just stood there and bullshitted a little story arc for this little incursion. And he's like, and they never found a body, like not a whole one, no. And they're like, "Holy shit, man!" And that he was the first one to coin the phrase "Don't fuck with the Tex." And I'm like, I'm making that canon. That's what the Trox are always like. The guy at the beginning of a Friday the 13th film saying, "Don't go to Camp Crystal Lake, it's cursed, you're all gonna die." Like, that's literally the Trox when you're about to go fuck with the Tex. It's like, don't fuck with the Tex. Don't do that. Like, we've done that. I don't recommend it. Alright, so we need to make a little holy hole here. Fuck that. I hate these damn digital pins. They got so many fucking controls on them that are unnecessary. So it's not a big entrance, and it does go like into the ground. Give it sort of like a, yeah, it's one of those. Yeah. Now, I've said it before, but very nice song selection tonight. This is, like I said, it's more like heavy metal meets dark synthwave, more like Dancing with the Dead. Really like it. There we go. That's a nice little hobbit hole. Nice little murder hole, so which we were about to spawn out. All right. So you got some battlements here. Now, you'll see that the battlements are got some holes in them. That's so you can shoot through them. So this becomes like a little murder hole. And then some steps going up. Come on. Hate it when the pin doesn't cooperate. Yeah. Alright. Give it some, it's like some wagon tracks sort of going in there. There we go. So it looks like it's been used a lot. And of course, it's going to be dark in there because on the other side is the trap door, so. Alright. So we need some tall towers here, and that could be the actual main structure of these battlements. So you kind of go through them. See what I'm saying? Because an A-frame is one of the strongest structures you can build with pieces of wood. and then like a little safety rail, text like the workplace safety ish. It is true though. Like if you notice in Revenge of the Forsaken, when they go to the grinding wheels or the smelters, everyone's wearing a face mask. It's like they didn't have gas masks or respirators, but they knew that breathing that shit in long term wasn't good for you. So they heavily, especially the grinders, heavily pressured their workers to wear a face covering. And what they would do is they would dare them to wear it for one shift, and then compare it to a clean one at the end of their shift. And of course, they see all that crap they would have been breathing in otherwise, and that's the convincer right there. It's like, okay, I don't need convincing you. I'm not gonna grind without a face mask on. And of course, a face mask back then would have just be made out of layers of linen. It wouldn't have been like an N95 or anything. But even back then, like I said, the techs knew about occupational hazards like that, breathing in fumes. Unfortunately, the trucks do about it too, but what they would do is just pay you more. And basically, it's like we recognize the danger, but we need these chemicals. So, yeah, we'll pay you triple. How about that? Let's give that some depth. But like I said, with Cockrell and Veto, we need to understand that their sexual orientation is not what you need to be discussing about them. And I almost did not want to make them gay. Like, yeah, I didn't really, like a friend pointed out to me that you didn't really need to. You could just say that because their occupation, no woman would have them. And which is true. Like, being the wife of a ranger enforcer is con as shit. They're gone for long periods of time. You never know if they're coming back home alive. And sometimes, sadly, they don't come back from a hunt. So, yeah. It's kind of worse than being the wife of a soldier in a lot of ways, because at least you know, like, after the war is over, they're yours permanently. But going off on a hunt is a lifetime pursuit. You do it until basically you retire, if you make it that far. Say, does that look bigger than the other one? Not by a lot. I probably need to make the hole deeper. And these a bit shorter. But mainly, the main pushback I give with making Cockrell and Veto gay is that the fact you see so many gay characters who are gay simply because they can be. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no reason for why that's significant to their story arc, other than diversity and inclusion. And I'm like, Cockrell and Veto are not going to be included in a lot of things because of their occupation, not because of, you know, who they fuck. Like, these guys are assassins. Like, they're ninja in a world of samurai. Like, they're not going to be held in a lot of high regard. Although Gawain II does, because he trusts them more than he does his own damn orders, because of the fact of what Cubic did. And like I said, who does Gawain II surround himself with? Like, if you ever see when he's just standing around, he doesn't have warders on either side of him. he's always talking to Karkal and Veto or OPEC or any number of other Ranger enforcers. He trusts them more than the warders, because the warders can be anybody. They come from all shapes and sizes. But the Ranger enforcers are indoctrinated from childhood to be loyal. So they are absolutely loyal. Okay. That looks way better. Because I could explain the depth difference and just being a depth difference. It doesn't. But this is supposed to be deeper on the inside than on the outside anyway. So. But like I said, I've literally had two schools of thoughts on this. Karkal and Veto do not need to be gay. We don't need to know their orientation at all. And I'm like, well, if they were straight, then by now they both would have wives, even if they weren't loyal, and even if they weren't anything more than just breeding stock. A beard, as it were. But if they were gay, it would explain why they haven't had children yet, and why that would be damn near impossible, is because two Audis don't make a baby, basically. Sorry, internet. Hence, what Beto says, it isn't like we could have one of our own naturally anyway. That was your first hint. But beyond that, it is very difficult to find a woman who wants to put up with a man who's gone constantly. It doesn't matter about the money. And then you gotta wonder, is she just a gold digger? Or a silver digger, in this case. Is she just in it for the money? She doesn't really give a shit about you. She just wants the financial stability. And it's like, why would you want that type of person as a long-term partner? Like, yeah, it's like there's just no way to win unless you basically find a workaround like they did, which is adopt random truck girl on the side of the road. Because she will be grateful, because otherwise it's death by exposure. And she also is motivated because she wants to get that letter of marque, so she could then go kill her father out of revenge and get paid for it. So you get an heir, you don't have to put up with a gold-digging wife, and you also save a child from basically being killed by slow death by exposure. So it's kind of win-win for everyone. Cockrell himself also was a war orphan. He briefly spent time in an orphanage. So he was more prone to adoption anyway. In the end, you're not going to remember that Cockrell and Veto were gay. After the last time I mentioned it, you're probably going, if you read Revenge for Forsaken, you're going to be like, wow, these guys start out looking like utter psychopaths, but goddamn, they are super endearing. I'm really glad Cora was like found and adopted by these guys. That's going to be your takeaway about Cockrell and Veto. Because at the end of the day, they're not psychopaths. They are a product of their civilization. And as Cockrell himself said many times, like, I'd rather not be out hunting and risking my life. I'd rather sit here with a good book and a nice pot of coffee. But that means all of these people just get away with doing horrible things, and then running away back to their home country where they can just get away with it. And of course, she's thinking about her father when she's hearing this, and it's like, yeah, you're right. That doesn't sound right. Why should they get away with this? Alright, so we're doing a little rampart here. And we're going to do an auto bow. Auto bows, I'm just going to say it, I think are the most badass weapon I've created for my book series. It is essentially a steel crossbow with a crank on the back. That gear ratios up a crawler mechanism that draws back and then releases the bow automatically. As the crawler mechanism moves the steel bowstring backwards, it trips a cam which drops a single short, and when I say short, but it's really like 12 inches long, iron arrow. It has to be iron because wood would splinter. I've been informed that I had to retcon this because wood would splinter in half under this much force. But an iron arrow, an iron flechette, would be strong enough to withstand the force. The snapping strength of the crossbow is about 800 pounds. I'm sorry, 1,800 pounds. It's like, think like a leaflet spring on an old truck. That's the size of this bow. And the mechanism is essentially a crank that is gear ratio to where a single person can crank it quickly and get out about, say, a shot every 5 seconds. And if you get enough of these overlapping, like machine guns, you could just devastate an area with arrows. And here's the best part. Because these arrows are iron, you can retrieve them with magnets, or find them with magnets and then retrieve them. And then if you need to straighten them, you take them to the blacksmith, and the blacksmith straightens them. No big deal. And these were the real devastating weapon of this time. Because again, just like a machine gun, you put an auto bow in an area that you want to defend, no one is going to be taking that area from you. It's just not going to happen. I would like to make a full-scale auto bow at some point with a real steel leaflet spring as the basis for it. I think it would be a very, very intimidating weapon, not just to be on the receiving end of, but also probably to use. Having that incredibly strong bow snap forward suddenly probably scared the shit out of me. Now, of course, these little ramparts have to stop near the trebuchet to give it range of motion. And they too are made out of that sort of bamboo type reed material. So everything just sort of stopped at a certain length with it. So think of this more like a drawbridge than like a traditional like stone rampart like you're used to. And of course, like I said, all of this has been lost in time. This fort's long since been underwater. You can still dive on it and see like the outline of it, but it's not there anymore. And of course, there would be a hopper on top of it that feeds the arrows. And a crewman off to one side would have to keep that fed. It's like somewhere I had blueprints for an auto bow. I genuinely was going to build one at one time. But then, of course, shit happens. So... that's getting to be difficult. I'm literally about to use a straight edge on my digital. And it worked beautifully. And again, you got to give the trebuchets their free range of motion. You can't like crowd them. And again, the techs aren't dummies. All of these little walkways are shoot through, so that if the one battlement is taken, they can literally just stab up through it or shoot up through it, take those guys out. So they literally make these sea and too close. Make these battlements purposely see and shoot through, so that they can retake them very quickly if the enemy starts jumping and crawling over the wall. Yeah, now I might have to use that straight edge again. I don't like that. Yeah, it's a little better. Again, you don't want to crowd the trebuchets. You need to have some wiggle room. Now, when I'm done here, I'm going to, of course, do like some tents on the interior courtyard. It would have been at this time a bunch of tents. Eventually, towards the end of the war, they did like make some actual barracks out of the same sort of local shrub type reed type material. But it's just Techs are used to building with stone and concrete, and they don't really have that luxury out here on the plateau because it's just different flora and fauna and local stone. They could, of course, mine like the mountain across the way for some limestone, but that would be a lot of overkill for what is essentially just an earthen fort that's meant to be temporary. Eventually, the idea, if they couldn't conquer Ogden, was to like have a long-term like observation base here that would have been a lot smaller, just as a precaution against a Nork invasion. Here's the thing: when Techs take over an area, they rarely give it back. For instance, in Phasia, they have a similar fortress up high up on a mountain that overlooks the walled city of Phasia, called Fort Monument. It's named after the mountain range that it's on. The Phasians have a monument to all of their emperors. Think of like Mount Rushmore, basically, but it's carved into the side of a mountain. And when the Techs saw that, they knew two things about these people. One, they were very advanced, and two, they had some sort of explosive, because that is what you would need in order to blast away that much material. So they knew two things. They had steel tools and they had explosives. So these guys are going to be like on par with the Techs for the most part, which it turns out that they only had black powder, good steel for the most part, but their weapons at the time were pretty much like individual hand thrown like grenades or like granadas and muskets. They didn't really have anything comparable to, like, say, self-contained cartridge guns and rifles like the Techs had at that time. Not to mention repeating rifles that would have been completely high-tech, even by tech standards of the day. Fort Europe here is also a testament to how quickly and brilliantly the Techs can make a fortification. To this day, they're damn good at it. They use the local materials as best as they can, so they don't have to bring a lot of crap with them. Basically, they bring a little shovel and some surveying tools, and a shitload of Techs, and that's all they really need to pull something like this off. Oh, I guess I need to make some fortification. But like I said, I found it very funny that the two opposing viewpoints with Cockrell and Beto is one friend is literally like, you're erasing gay people, like literally accused of. It's like, no, they're not people. First of all, they're people and they're sentient beings. They're not human. Like, they're changelings, technically. But also, who are you to tell this fictional culture how they should be gay. Like, the hubris of that. It's like, no, you're not being gay right. Like, what? And then the polar opposite is I should not have mentioned their sexuality at all. It was not pertinent. We didn't need to know this, basically. And I'm like, well, for the story writing, it answers a very simple question of why didn't they just get, like, trophy wives? You see that with other, basically, Ranger enforcers, like OPEC. His wife is basically a kept woman, and she's a socialite, so she has friends over all the time, constantly flaunting her money like a good tech woman shouldn't, but she does. And she enjoys the money, and she really enjoys the peace and quiet of not having her husband around. Does she cheat on him? Who knows? They do seem to have a lot of fucking children, though. For instance, the little OPEC you see there. Shit. I'm going to have to drag this up on her. I'm going to do it. I'm going to flesh out the OPECs more anyway. Alright. Alright, here we go. Don't be reading those now. This is the one I'm currently working on, which is called Education. And it explains how basically Cora got so damn good from knowing nothing about being a Ranger enforcer. Where are they? As you can see, I'm not quite done with it yet. No, that's not it. Don't read it. Look at it. Alright, so here we go. Here we go. Is OPEC the younger? And when I say the younger, I mean the youngest. He literally has like a graduating, like, Control V ninjas. Oh, and this character right here, Acula, I literally put him in there just to fuck with the audience. They even joke about it. Clever play asking to go last count, thus ensuring the instructor will be too tired to give you a decent fight. Thank you, Your Highness. That was not in compliments. Val was being a dick. In other words, how brave of you to fight the instructor who's tired and already got his ass beat twice. And then here is him with his dad. Now you see he's like a little version of him. Isn't that cute? And here's Acula and his mom. Acula's mom is not really on board with the Count here, like, joining the Martial Academy. What happened here is basically Lord Consort Acula, who is Kulk's Lord Consort, so like the highest Lord, the one that can do stuff instead in the absence of a Triarch, heard that the prince is going to the Martial Academy, and he's like, oh shit, is this going to be a thing now? Should I send my kid to the Martial Academy? Is that a flex now? So they send him to try out for year 2 along with the prince to see how he does. And of course he's a smart little bastard, but he's not Ranger Enforcer material. He's a nerd. So he's not cool like Cockrell Veto here. Look how fucking cool Veto is. But oh, here, interesting. Here we go. Okay, this is the armor of the Triarchy. So you got Old blue there. You see how big of a sword it is. Getting closer. And you see the fact that it's plate mail. It's scale mail. But the gauntlets are a different material. They look like conventional steel because they really are. This is made from a piece of the humble. Now, the later pieces of armor are more modern because of the fact that they were made later when they actually got metallurgy of how to, smelt humbonium into armor. Because before, the best they could do was little plates. And then they were like, oh, screw it, send it, we'll make scale mail. But then later on, they were able to treat it like any other steel once they knew its secrets, basically. So they made a shark and nautical themed one for Colt, because that's what he wanted. Oh, also the Colts have control over the merchant marine and the banks. That's why his is sea. Now, you might have already guessed the theme here. Sea, air, land, and Eat King. And Kulik specifically wanted to do an Eat King as an homage to Eepers and thank them for the service, basically. But he also has here a specific type of axe. This is called a Glaine's axe. Basically, it's a mallet on one side and an axe on the other. And that's basically what built most of Usalic's. It's a multifunction tool that the early techs used a lot. First, where they were made out of bronze, and then iron, and then this one, of course, is made of humbonium, but it's a weapon. That's also why it's spiked. Originally, it would have been more like a bearded axe. It would have been, like, come down a little bit like that. But when it's spiked like that, that's for armor penetration. And of course, that side is for armor crushing. They had to fill the head of this with lead because humbonium is very lightweight, so using it as a bludgeon is actually not a good idea because it doesn't really weigh a lot. It's like aluminum. But there you go, the armor of the Triarchy. Just wanted to show you that real quick. Alright. It's like, how much time do we have? Oh, it's almost over. Shit. 2 hours. I don't know. I should probably cut it off there. It is a long-ass video. But as you can see, I'm not quite done yet. But you can see where we're going with this. You'll see the finished version. I'll put, like, some spotting towers, like, right there. Maybe, like, right there. And then a bunch of tents down here. Well, that's about it, folks. So I don't want to make another, like, 3-hour video like I did the other day. Again, special thanks to White Bat Audio. Love your stuff. Not paid, just a fan. But yep. Like I say, I'll finish this on my own. Sorry guys, but you will see it finished on the live stream Sunday. And like I said, I just wanted to give like a visual for what we're working with, because this fort in particular, the way I described it, like it didn't really hit with the reader. They weren't quite visualizing it. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna finish this up and switch over to non-copyright free music, and I'll see you Sunday.